Live from Greenwich, Connecticut, you're watching the greatest classic car show in the entire Northeast, the Greenwich Concours d'Elegance on BeTerrific. How did you first get into cars?
So our car, which is the blue car over here, I'm here with my mom, and it was my dad's car. He had Bugattis and other cars. So like Maureen was saying, I grew up in this, it is a family, this little our Bugatti club, and I grew up in the world, in this.
Should we end on yours or start on yours?
Let's walk down this way and look at a couple of the others.
Let's do that, yeah. So what is this Bugatti? I in all honesty, I love Bugattis, but I don't know anything about them. I never got into finding out about them.
You really want to get this side because everyone's seeing the front of the cars,
right.
But it's really nice to see the lineup of the tails.
You're 100% right, and you look at Maureen's car, and then this car. I mean, look at how gorgeous this car is.
So this is a Type 57.
Yeah.
The blue and black car, the 3 or 4 there are Type 57s. It was the last model developed and produced. This is an 8-cylinder car. It was available in a variety of different setups with or without supercharger. There was the 57 SC, which was a lower wheelbase car. Some of your viewers may know the Atlantic. There are 2 of those. Ralph Lauren has one. The other one is in a museum in California.
Is it the Peterson Museum?
It's actually a Mullen Museum in Oxnard.
Okay. That's north, right?
Yes.
Like I've been there actually.
But that car is actually at Peterson right now.
Okay.
And that's the 57 SC, which has a supercharger. This is 8-cylinder.
What made Bugatti vehicles so special?
They were very, very advanced for their time. A lot of engineering and abilities. The racing car, this is a Type 37A. This is the same model as Maureen's car.
Why does that one seem? I mean, they both seem iconic to me, but is it the color? What makes that car seem the most iconic Bugatti that I've ever seen?
Because one of the things that Bugatti became very famous for was the race cars.
Right.
And where he got his first success was with the Type 35, which looks the same as this. It just has an 8-cylinder engine. And that was where Bugatti became famous, of having this really well-engineered, very successful race car in the 1920s.
So if we walk a little bit over here, this is a convertible. This is the coupe version?
Yes.
And that is so stunning. Look at those lines. So, I mean, if you were somebody pretty special back in the day, you would have one of these and you'd have a nice date night. This would be like the Great Gatsby.
Yeah. Tom, we're talking about your car.
And was this a fast car? Did it handle well?
Yeah, this was sort of a Grand Tour.
Is it a V12? It's got such
it's an 8-cylinder.
8-cylinder.
Yep.
Such a huge engine bay for 8-cylinder. Wow, it's absolutely gorgeous. Tom, would it be okay to open the engine bay? Wow, this is going to be a treat.
Yeah.
We're going to open the engine bay of this car. Tom, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. How long have you owned it?
About 15 years.
It's gorgeous.
And actually, all on the interior, the front seats are recovered, but all the other leather in the back and on the side and the headliner is all original. And every piece on the car has a number stamped on it, metal and wood. Number 30. This was body number 32, so that's on the car.
Wow. And you drive it regularly?
Yeah. I'll take this out to dinner and go shopping on Sunday morning with it. Go grocery shopping. Parking is far away from everybody else.
I would imagine. Maybe on another continent. How do these sound, by the way, Chris?
They sound fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Wow. It's a really powerful engine. It's a 3.3 liter. Some of them are supercharged. This one isn't. But there's like the original molting on the firewall. And you know, sometimes when people restore them, they do too much of a regular pattern and stuff, but it was just like done by hand back in those days, and they look sharp.
Absolutely.
Everything was designed, like even you can get smaller here and it's bigger here, so the pipe's designed like that, the exhaust. These are the greasers. So.
And your spark plugs are just exposed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Thank you for sharing this with us.
You're very welcome.
How fast have you had the car up to?
This you could cruise at 75 on the highway, but it's got cable brakes. So, and if you're just in it yourself, it's not bad. But The first time I took this down a steep hill with 4 people in it, I went through the stop sign at the bottom of the hill. I mean, you got to put some serious foot pressure in here. Like modern cars, you know, you can just stop on a dime and people pull out in front and they don't realize you. So you got to be pretty careful when you're.
Yeah.
But they hold the road phenomenal. We had a rally, and Crystal was on it the other day on some. And we drove down from Danbury on these beautiful back roads, and we were cooking. And they corner well, they handle well, and you can accelerate. So they're really a lot of fun to drive.
Absolutely. Wow. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Very good.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Okay.
That is, wow, that's beautiful. I feel like we just walked into something special. I feel like we're in like some alternate universe.
It can feel that way a little bit sometimes with these. We were, as Tom said, we were over in Connecticut and we stopped for lunch. And, you know, there were 10 of the cars parked in the parking lot at a restaurant. And this guy comes by in a, I don't know, it was an Alfa Romeo. And he, like, you know, pulled a immediate U-turn and comes in and he's like, my God, I never thought I'd see one Bugatti, let alone 10 just in the parking lot at the restaurant down the street from my house. And
It's amazing. Can we go look at your car? And,
Sure.
and as we go there, if we could walk by, I'm curious about the red car.
yes.
Especially because it almost looks like a Chris Craft boat that you could sit in the back. You know, I guess so. Would the kid be in the back?
The kid could be in the back or any passenger. So this is the first production model that Bugatti produced. This is called a Brescia, and it was available with the same engine in different lengths of car. And it's a 4-cylinder, single overhead cam with a twin ignition, so it's 16 valve, which are all of these kinds of things were some of what makes Bugatti special,
Sure.
that he was doing things, you know, 16 valve engine, 4 valves per cylinder in 1922. Like that's
pretty unbelievable.
And it's a 4-speed. This little car will happily do 60 miles an hour all day long.
Wow. And which was super fast back then,
Yeah.
and especially on the roads that they had. And then I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like a thing you'd put a kid in to forget about the kid.
Yeah, you put in, if you have an extra passenger, you put him in there. You notice he's got these little. There's some storage in here.
And it's like the back of a boat. It's like sitting
Yeah.
on the back. Imagine just sitting on the back of the boat. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's so cool. All right, let's take a look at
And-
yours.
yeah.
Oh, well, you were going to say something.
Well, no, I was just going to point out that if you notice, the seats are staggered.
Yeah.
Because it's so tight in there that the passenger sits a little bit back from
So,
the driver,
look at
so
this.
to give the driver a little more room.
This seat, you're saying anybody could sit here.
Yeah.
I have pretty short legs, and I don't think I could fit back there.
Well, I'm not saying it's the most comfortable place to sit. I'm just saying, and it's more sort of, you know, oftentimes you'll hear like the rumble seat on,
Sure.
on a car. Sometimes they call it the mother-in-law seat.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't necessarily put your best friend in the back seat.
Right. Don't tell Maureen that. She's got a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Grown kids. They seem like nice kids. Good family over
Yeah.
there. But I'm
So-
sure she doesn't want to be in the mother-in-law seat.
And so that car, which belongs to the fellow standing with his back to us, is a Type 30. That's an 8-cylinder
Wow.
car. So
that's a
Bugatti
real
primarily
back
was
seat.
started with building race cars, and that's what Bugatti wanted to build. But to fund the company, you know, you got to make some touring cars that sell. And this was a high-end touring car.
Beautiful. And it has a real back seat.
Yeah, well, that's what we call that a 3.5-seater. You can't really put 4 people in the back, 2 people in the back. But
Now, is this one yours?
this is our car.
Can we do one more before we do yours? The silver one.
Okay.
Just because I want everybody to get a look at this, I think just not having paint was kind of revolutionary back then. Even today, I mean, every car we see has paint, but I don't really know because all the photos I see of cars are black and white.
Yeah.
So
no,
was it revolutionary, or was
well,
painting it revolutionary?
this is something that the previous owner who restored the car chose to do.
So it wasn't originally.
They would not normally be this. He did it because they're all another thing that makes Bugatti special. All the race cars are aluminum. There's a lot of aluminum. The block is aluminum, the bodywork, and so he decided to do this polished aluminum. So this car, this is what we were saying. This is the end of the evolution of the racing car. It's a Type 51. It's an 8-cylinder, twin overhead cam.
I mean, just look at the dashboard. It's
that's what Tom was saying about the engine turning. If you notice how that was done on his engine, it's much more. You can tell it's done by hand, where this is very precise.
Sure.
So the way his is a little more original.
Got it.
And you'll also notice, if you look at this little children's car that's sitting here on the side, that is a genuine Bugatti.
Is it really?
That was produced. It's called the Baby Bugatti. It's also sometimes known as a Type 52.
It was gas powered.
And no, it has an electric motor
Okay.
in the tail cone, and it was a exact half-scale model of the racing car, and he built one for his son, and other owners and customers said, "Oh, I kind of like that. Can you make?" And so they decided to sell them.
Wow.
And so they built
cool.
about 500 of those.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty. I imagine that's pretty valuable today.
Well, what are you willing to pay for it?
Well, if I had a bank account big enough to write the check, then we could talk.
any of these cars is only worth what two people are willing to pay.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's real value in all these cars, and in that as well.
I mean, none of these are,
Right.
But
right, sure.
None,
I mean,
yeah.
if this guy said, "I want to sell that car today," it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But it's priceless, right?
Yeah, and
as
we said, we are custodians.
Right. I think that's the thing about Bugatti is that Bugatti cars and you guys as the club, it's not about how much the car is worth and all that stuff. It's about being custodians and realizing this is art and heritage and history. And other cars are much more about, well, it's worth this, it's worth that.
For us, one of the things that makes is that Bugatti, the cars are very much about one man's vision. You talk about early Jaguars and you talk about Lions and how important he was to what those cars, and that's very much part of Bugatti is the design, the engineering. Later on, his son became involved designing the Type 57.
But Bugatti was, as you talk about importance, Bugatti was very important to the evolution of cars and to the car culture, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So this is yours.
This is our car.
Yeah.
This is a Type 37 from 1926. We've owned the car. My dad bought the car in 1987. This car was actually sold new in England through Malcolm Campbell.
Wow.
Who was the land speed record holder. And he was a dealer. He was a Bugatti. He basically had like a Bugatti dealership in England. So this car lived in England from new until my dad bought it. It's a very straight car. It runs on these are the beaded edge tires that are very high pressure. And it's a beautifully balanced car. It's lightweight, very nimble and quick.
And you drive it?
Yeah.
Often?
Yeah.
Wow.
As Tom said, we use it, but you get a little nervous in parking because it's an aluminum tail cone, and all it takes is
one shopping cart.
Or a Suburban, and distracted drivers are a little
hopefully the backup cameras help you a little with the Suburban now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
Sure.
Can we just show everybody the engine?
Oh,
is that
absolutely.
possible?
Yep.
And then I guess my last question is, what do you and what does the Bugatti Club think of the new Bugattis, the Veyron and everything, even the EB12?
That's always the question. We look at that as sort of it's sort of a separate car. It's a different company, it's a different era, but they are incredible pieces of engineering. We have members who own vintage Bugattis and own EB110s and Veyrons. The
EB110, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said EB12.
Bugatti SAS, who's the company, has been very supportive of the real Bugatti, the vintage Bugatti world. They have really embraced the heritage.
Well, and I was going to say, in continuing to innovate the way they innovate, it's kind of harkens back to what Bugatti was.
Absolutely. And I've been fortunate enough to drive a Veyron. We were up in northern Vermont, so it wasn't exactly I wasn't doing 200 miles an hour, but it is an incredible piece of machinery, and the engineering I'm looking at it over there.
Sure.
And I mean, the engineering that's in that car is mind blowing.
Yeah. It absolutely is.
It's And when the EB110 came out, it was an incredible piece of engineering for the time. You know, it kind of got eclipsed by the McLaren F1, but
Right.
you know, they're wonderful cars. And
So walk me through this engine.
Sure.
It seems much more rudimentary than the other ones.
well, this is the same as Maureen's car, that the two that we looked at over there,
Yep.
except that it doesn't have a supercharger.
Okay.
So you just have the single carburetor here. Sometimes they're set up with 2 carburetors, but it's the same block, the same. It's
Wow.
4-cylinder overhead cam.
Seems pretty easy to work on if you know what you're doing.
You know, I mean, the basics are the same, whether
Right.
it's a Model A Ford or a Bugatti.
Right. Do you work on this?
A little bit. I know how to, you know, do some maintenance, but
let
for
somebody else.
major jobs, get the professionals.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure
Sure.
to meet you. Thank you for giving us a tour
Our
of
pleasure.
all the Bugattis here, or not all, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good kind of example of different models.
Yeah.
And a little bit of the heritage and a little bit about the club. How do people find out more about the Bugatti Club?
There is a website. I think it's AmericanBugattiClub.org or something
And can
like
people
that.
who are
And
just enthusiasts, or like a kid who wants to have a Bugatti one day like this, can he kind of join the club or follow the club or come to events?
absolutely, we generally require ownership to be a full member of the club, but we do have there's a junior member
Yeah.
level that sort of gets you to sort of know what we are. So people you have to be sponsored, you have to know a member, and
Sure.
that kind of thing.
And then you can come to events, you can find out about
You
them
can,
on the
yeah, you can
website.
find out when things are happening.
Right.
There are a couple of not, and there are Bugatti clubs in many countries.
Sure.
There's the Bugatti Trust is an organization based in England that they have all of the a lot of the records and stock, and they do a lot of educational programs too, and that's a really wonderful resource online. BugattiTrust.co.uk, I think, something like that.
Very cool, beautiful, and thank you so much for giving
My
us
pleasure.
a tour.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too. He's Chris, I'm Michael, you're the Terrifics. We're going to take a break and come back with more live from Greenwich, Connecticut, from the Greenwich Concours d'Elegance 2017. Stay with us.